What's going on, guys? Welcome to Mooseworks, where I do various metalworking projects. I also do the occasional tool review. Today, we are going to be doing the final touches on my belt sanding stand. I've been working on this for a while. We are going to add a hook for my sanding belts, and then we're going to go ahead and paint this bad boy up, install the belt sander, and then put it in its final resting home. If you haven't been watching, go ahead and click on these videos here where I made a hammer stand, a work rest for my belt sander, and a angle grinder hooker thing, not hooker. Here is my belt sanding stand. Hammers are on the left side and the back side, angle grinders on the front side. And so now we are going to find a home for my 3x34 belt sanding belts. I want them to go right here, just under where I'm going to be using that telescoping work rest. And I think I'm going to use this little doohickey that I pulled off of the telescoping tube. Heavy enough, and it's almost perfectly sized already, so it's not going to take a lot of cutting time. It's got this little hook on the end, which I think is going to work real nicely for keeping those belts on the piece. So we'll grind that up. It's a little sharp. We'll grind this down or cut it off, probably cut it off, and then we'll go ahead and weld this hook onto the side. Then we'll get to painting. There she is in all her glory. Let's confirm I didn't cut this off too far. Perfect. Okay, now let's grind this up a little bit. All right, everything's nice and smooth, ready to get welded on. So I think I'm gonna use this magnet square to load this up. It's gonna fit just inside the edges here, but I think it'll work just fine. The bottom of this bar is flat, so it'll work out. So this is 6 inches on the dot, and I have that positioned right at 3. I need to make sure that when I'm using my work rest here, okay, it looks like it's out of the way of my 2 adjustment screws for my telescoping work rest. There's nothing gonna be in the way. So let's tack this on, or let's get a belt and test this out, make sure it's not hanging onto our base here. And then if it fits up correctly, we'll break out the welder and tack this bad boy on. What do you think? It's a bit long. It's a little long here, but I really don't run the risk of anything because I already have this in my belt sander hanging off the side. So I don't think it's extending out to that point. It's really going to be a problem. If anything, it'll just add a little extra space for some more belts. Awesome. I think that's good. Let's break out the welder. I need to get one of those fancy holders, little MIG gun holders. Maybe I'll buy one of the ones that Jimbo's Garage uses. I love that channel. Always got to get a clean tip. Clean tips are nice. Suppose I better put a welding helmet on. Would be the responsible thing to do. So that's what I'm gonna do. Something weird's going on. Sounds like we have gas. We have D manual 3.5. What is going on? Man, let's try it again. I don't know what could be messing up here. Here is 1/8. All right. Whoops. So something with my welder's acting up a little weird. Oh, I don't think I have you on the full view. So something on my welder is acting kind of weird. And so I'm gonna go ahead and run a bead on this 1/8 steel to see if there's something wrong with the welder or the settings. I mean, I use the settings that is suggested, so I'm not sure. All right. Nope, nothing wrong. Not sure. I guess I just don't know how to weld. Let's try this again. I'm gonna put a knee pad on. Maybe that's it. Didn't have the magic knee pad. Well, we'll get her to work. Well, it wasn't the prettiest weld ever, but we'll take it. Used to have a hand wire brush. Where did it go? There it is. There it is. Quick belt holder. Everything fits. Everything fits up nicely on this stand. I am happy with how this thing turned out. I think it is time to paint this bad boy up. I have everything pulled off of this. Now I'm gonna go ahead and gotta pull these guys off. I am also going to be painting the work rest. All right, let me grab a microfiber. Let's get this wiped down. Make sure there's no dust. So one of my next builds is gonna be a table for my evolution saw. I know some people have commented on a few videos here recently that I need to get that thing off the ground, which I do. So I'm thinking about doing two different sides with one section in the middle that's a little bit lower than the saw. And the two sides are gonna be almost in line perfectly with the cut surface where my working components kind of just slide nicely across that, and I can just tighten them down with the fence and the clamp, work clamp, and then make the cuts. One thing I saw was somebody made a workbench that folded to where kind of in the middle there were hinges on the back side and casters, 4 casters on either side of that, and so it rolled and kind of folded up. I think that might sound pretty cool, and I might do that on that build because it's gonna open up and create a pretty large work surface that I could use in the middle of my shop the majority of the time, because I'm definitely hurting for tabletop space. So maybe that's what I'll do. So I've really come to love this Tractor Supply Magic oil-based enamel paint. It seems to coat things very well. I have a few items outside that I've used this black one, this one specifically for, and it's worked really well. I also used a red version of this for my bench vise, and although it has a few chips and dings in it, it's really worked out quite well. It puts a nice finish on, and it seems pretty thick and durable. I'm gonna open this up and we're gonna get to painting. This Woodster 3-inch firm nylon brush. All I could find, it's a pretty nice brush. So this is what we're gonna be using. It's pretty gooey at the bottom. I'm not sure if I've left this sit too long. We'll get her mixed up good. Whew, took a little bit of work. Looking for some type of tray I can put the paint in because my brush is a little too wide for my little opening there. Yeah, I'm not seeing much. Guess we'll get one of my paint cans. It's got a lot of white in there, but it's all dried. Should be okay. Let's do about half for right now. I absolutely hate painting. It's a lot of work and a lot of cleanup, but it does make your work pieces look nice, so maybe it's worth it. This is gonna take a while. Forgot how long it takes to paint with a brush. So I painted everything with that black. I left the tip of this orange because that's going to slide into that telescoping portion of the stand. So it's not going to be visible. I'll let this dry for a day, day and a half, and then I'm going to put some accent greens into it and it'll be looking nice. Let's add a little bit of style to the base. Jungle green. Let's move it into its home. Had a little bit of overspray there. Oh well. So the belt bench sander stand is officially finished and I'm pretty excited about it. So I've been using the base of this stand with that belt sander for probably a year and it's been extremely useful. I use it on just about every project to clean up edges of plates that I've cut. Anything that I really want to clean up the top of the plate or the edge, I use it for that type of work. I also use it on a lot of woodworking projects where I'll clean up cut faces, edges, or really just sand the full face as well. So the stand is gonna be and has been extremely useful. Now the main update I did on it was the work rest that has that telescoping adjustable tube on the bottom. That's mainly going to allow for me to get a perfect 90 degrees to that belt sander when it's in the upright position. The previous one was extremely chintzy and weak, and this one's gonna be freaking heavy duty and allow for me to put some heavier items up on top of that and kind of push and maneuver things around without losing my 90 degrees on the work rest. So super useful there. Additionally, I needed to add some visible storage in my shop. Now, I don't have the biggest shop in the world, and so I got to make use of the areas that I do have, and there was some space on the base of this stand. So I went through and added those hammer holders, and I added that angle grinder on the front, as well as I added the hook for the belt sander so I don't have to walk across the shop and go and get those belt sanders every time I needed to change it out on the bench sander unit. So I'm super happy with this build. This morning, I went ahead and finished everything up with those lime, jungle green is the color, paint marks, just to give it a little flair, a little bit of style, and make it truly my own. I haven't seen anything like that, and I kind of like that jungle green color. I've painted multiple tools and things within the shop that color, so I wanted to keep that theme going, right? So I added that. I put it close to its resting place. I had some angle iron and some square tubing that was in the way, and I would have had to move my mower and move a bunch of other things this morning in order to get that bench sander stand in the final resting home, so I didn't quite get her done, but it'll be useful in the area that it is in, and I can move it at a later date. Now, with that stand being officially finished, the next project that I'm going to be working on is a cutting stand for my Evolution saw. Now, I've had a couple of comments on a few videos stating that I needed to get that saw out or off of the floor, get it up on a table so I can cut things efficiently. What I plan to do is design out, so I'll probably have a video where I plan out and design the build itself, and then subsequent videos will be about the build itself. My current line of thinking is for two kind of larger, higher up tables will allow the pieces of material to slide into place, and then the center section is going to be a little bit lower than the other two sections. That's going to have the Evolution saw, and it's going to have the bottom of it open so all the chips and everything can fall down into, I'll probably have like a bucket or a tray or something to collect those. Additionally, I want this table set up to be rather narrow and fit along the wall just under my whiteboard, and be able to house the 20-foot long sections of angle iron and square tube, because my metal supplier will not cut those down for me. So the bottom of this table or cutting station needs to be rather long to house that 20-foot section. Now, I also want to be able to use this as somewhat of a workbench when I don't have those long sections being stored on the bottom. And so I saw a really cool design on a wooden workbench where it was long for a cutting station, but there were some hinges on the backside, and it would essentially fold up into a wider unit, not necessarily square, but it was wider so you could wheel it around, fold it into place, and use it as a workbench. Getting on a bigger road here, 1 second. So obviously each side would have to have 4 casters, so it would have a lot of casters and the ability to be mobile and move around the shop. I also want to incorporate some storage or swing out trays at the kind of the top, just underneath the workbench portion, on either side, to store some tools and some cutting assistance devices that I would work on thereafter. I'd also probably keep like speed squares, some pieces of chalk, a tape, things that I'll need during the cutting process to help speed things up. Maybe even house like an angle grinder so I can clean up those cut edges without having to walk across the shop to clean those up. I'm thinking those drawers could be on bearing sliders, similar to most drawers that you would see in a shop. but I've seen this really cool design. I think it's a company called Swivel. They have the patent. So it has a rod that runs from top to bottom, and your shelves are essentially pie-shaped. So there's a radius where it can swing out on a single axis in the corner, and you can get a really solid, good mount with some bushings on that rod. And it swings out of one corner. You don't have a bunch of ball bearings and moving parts. It's just one swinging joint. I really like that design, so maybe I'll try to figure out how to do that DIY style, because I don't actually have something to mimic. I may go look up, that might be a video in and of itself, talking about the design of that, the coolness of that, the benefits of it, that sort of thing. Another video that I have an idea, and leave a comment below if you think this would be a good idea, is the telescoping tube video I've done. It got a lot of comments and interaction on my other channel, Mooseworks Clips, where I post some short form stuff. Now on that channel, it seemed like a lot of people had their own solutions on the spacing, the correct spacing between a telescoping tube, that inner tube, and the actual dynamic telescoping tube on the outside. Now in the video that I put out for my bench vise, I used 035 MIG welding solid core wire. It worked really well, and yeah, that's what I ended up using. The Coke can that I originally used did not work due to the weld draw and clamping down on that. Anyways, the more and more I think about it, I think depending on your weld joint geometry and how that weld's gonna allow for it to contract and pull is going to dictate how much space you need. And so it's not as simple as the correct spacing. I think it has to be planned out around how your weld joints are configured. And so I'm gonna do a video here in the near future of how those weld joints impact the amount that that weld draw, or the sensitivity to that weld draw, for the specific application of telescoping tube. So leave a comment below if you think that's a good idea and you have interest in that. It seems like that would explain why people are using printer paper, cereal box cardboard. Some people aren't using anything at all and say they don't have any issues. Some people just say to use DOM, which is expensive. So leave a comment below, and hopefully that one would be of value. If you found value in this video or in any previous videos on this channel, I do ask that you would hit that subscribe button, as well as hit that like button and turn on notifications for my channel. It really helps push my videos to you and to others whenever you hit those buttons for me, and it will help kind of just catapult this channel into more and more content, and hopefully bringing value to you Jack. Thank you guys for staying with me on this long video today. I'm gonna keep putting out content much more quickly than what I previously have done, so stay tuned. Lots coming down the line.